We all have situations, experiences, and moments in our life when we know deep at our core we have to do something different. We have to pivot. And regardless of how big or small that pivot is, it requires us to change something in our life. And that change can feel really uncomfortable. However, it is that change that is creating something entirely new. And it is that newness that creates a very different way of life in one area or multiple areas of our life. What's this all about? It is all about reinventing thyself. My name is Michelle Shutter, and I'd like to welcome you to Reinventing Thyself. I am so glad that you joined me today because it is here that we'll move beyond our old self, our old identity, and that trailer of garbage from the past that we like to pull into the future, but really need to ditch that hitch. It is here that we'll move into that place of reinvention and embracing the newness of it all. Are you ready to step into reinventing thyself? Because guess what? It is never too late, and your time is now. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Reinventing Thyself. It is episode 10, and we are going to chat about today, how do you hold yourself accountable? Accountability is such a big thing when it comes to reinventing yourself. So if you are catching this podcast or this video for the first time, welcome, because it is never too late to lean into that pivot and embrace the newness of reinventing thyself. My gosh, we do that on a daily basis sometimes, right? We've got to pivot, we've got to change. We are always reinventing ourselves. So welcome. My name is Michelle Shutter, your host of this podcast, of this video series. And as I mentioned, today we're going to talk about accountability, because that can be certainly a block when it comes to reinventing yourself. Because when we take on something that is part of our dream, part of a transition that is scary, a situation where we want to scratch it all and begin anew, we have to hold ourselves accountable. It is our responsibility to do that, but it isn't always the easiest to do that. And I love this statement, I guess, that I had found when I was reading some things. And it says, you are the first and last line of defense for your integrity, which is directly related to your accountability. So if you don't value integrity, which is fine, everybody values different things, it is going to be more challenging for yourself to hold yourself accountable. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So set yourself up for success in putting those pieces in place to hold yourself accountable. Now, that can be a variety of things, right? You could hire somebody to coach you, to mentor you, to even just a friend to check in with, to hold yourself accountable. It can also just be like writing down what you accomplished from the day. And I would even recommend that the night before you write down the things that you are going to hold yourself accountable for. And then the next evening, look at that and see, okay, did I do this today? Did I not? Why not? What got in the way? What do I need to shift for the next day so that I can hold myself accountable? Here's the thing with accountability. It's really easy to slip into that poor me, that victim mode when things aren't going quite right, the way that you think, your ego mind thinks that you should be doing, or in the direction you should be going, or the results that you should be getting. That energy around being a victim, the poor me, is strong. It wants to pull you in, and it wants you to stay in that energy because that's what feels safe. That's your comfort zone in a sense. You may not think that, but it can be very comforting to stay in that space of being a victim. If you have wounded feminine energy, that is bubbling up, that is coming to the surface, that has not been cleared, that has not been worked through in some way, holding yourself accountable can also be a struggle when it comes to wounded feminine energy. Now, when I'm talking about wounded feminine energy, just to back up here for a second, we all have energy in a feminine format and a masculine format. It doesn't necessarily mean men are all masculine, women are all female or feminine. We have a combination of both energies, and we kind of flow between those energies at any given moment and on any given day in any given hour based on what we are doing. We always have a dominant energy in terms of feminine or masculine. But over time, if we're not aware of these energies, it's very easy to come from a place where that energy is wounded. And for a female, that wounded feminine energy it's that place where we don't feel completely secure. So we have a lot of insecurities that are coming up. We are looking for external validation in some way. We're really attached to the outcome in some way. Sometimes we step into this space where we're looking to be the superhero, the martyr. And so we take on all this stuff only to set ourselves up for overwhelm, for even just this place of being disappointed. Like we have this hidden addiction to disappointment that likes to track this in. And that wounded energy just doesn't serve us when it comes to accountability. So I'm going to keep this episode really short, but I want to share with you 3 questions that perhaps you want to create some space and sit on when it comes to holding yourself accountable. So health is just always an easy example to use. So let's say you're doing a new fitness routine, okay? And you're going to work out 6 days a week, and you kind of have a plan on how it's going to work. And you're into like day 4 and like, forget it. I'm not getting out of bed. And you know darn well that if you don't get up and do it first thing in the morning, your schedule will not allow for it to happen throughout the rest of the day. It's not going to happen. So you know that you have to get it done first thing. But on Thursday, day 4, you decide, forget it. I don't want to do it. And that energy is actually going to set you up for the next day as well. However, it's really important to look at, okay, why did I step into that space of not holding myself accountable? And so these 3 questions perhaps can help you work through some of that energy that is lingering inside you, that is holding you back from truly committing to what you made the decision you were going to do. Okay. So number 1 is, what do you value in terms of your health? So in this example is that new fitness routine. What do you value in terms of your health? Now you can change that in terms of, perhaps you're working on a project, perhaps you're changing your line of work, perhaps you're shifting or pivoting in some area of your life. What do you value in that project, in that work, in your health, that you really need to set those values and align with those values? And how are they showing up in what you're doing? Because if you don't have any value to what you're doing, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's going to be really challenging. So really sit and think for a moment, what do I value about this? So for my health, my gosh, yeah, I value my health. I want to feel healthy. I want to do the things that will get me to my end result. So that is the first question. Now it's kind of vague and it's kind of open-ended, but at least you'll start to get some clarity around it. Now, the second one is where you start to dive just a little bit deeper into like, why didn't you get out of bed that day, right? And so you need to look at your justifications. So question number 2 is, what am I justifying by not getting out of bed. And why? Why am I justifying that? And when you sit long enough, one of the things that you can continually ask yourself is why? Well, okay, I'm tired today. Well, why am I tired? Well, I didn't go to bed early enough. Why didn't I go to bed early enough? Well, I decided that I wanted to, watch a movie. Well, what was important about that movie? Why did I feel the need that I had to watch that movie? Continue to ask yourself why? Like keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. Now, it's really a great thing to have some support around this question, because sometimes when you start to ask those questions why, you can't see what is starting to come up because you're too close to it. And so you may ask a question on a surface level, that question of why, when essentially you want to ask a question that allows you to go deeper into the root, the foundation of where this justification is coming from. And I'm going to give you a little heads up here. Many times it resorts back to, I'm not good enough. I could never do that. That possibility would never happen to me. I'm not worthy of that. I'm not deserving of that. See how that record, in a sense, that message is looping, is playing over and over again through your justifications. And so then that was question number 2, is what am I justifying and why? And number 3 is, what benefit am I receiving from avoiding this situation, from procrastinating, from really bringing on self-sabotage in a way by not, in my example, by not getting out of bed? What's the benefit? Well, again, you can continue to ask yourself why. Whatever comes up, you can continue to ask yourself why. But then you can also start to look at, my gosh, this is a pattern that is continually coming up over and over and over and over again. Why is that? Why is this pattern? Yes, it's showing up from my health, but oh my gosh, I'm also seeing it in this area of my life. Or there it is again in this area of my life. What you're going to find is the benefit in quotation marks here, in air quotes, is internally you're getting a payoff because it's related to other areas of your life as well, and you're not able to see it. You're way too close to it. Many times we don't hold ourselves accountable because we're avoiding something. We're avoiding a perceived pain in many cases. And that could be a physical pain. It could also, more than likely though, it is an emotional pain. Where our ego mind is believing that there's going to be some kind of pain on the other side. Now that pain can come from what we perceive as failure, but that pain can also come from perceived success. That for some reason we are sabotaging ourselves, our success, because it's linked back to the second question of why we are justifying something. And the more we can dig deep and find these roots and clear them out and shift and transform that energy, the more accountable it is that we can become to ourselves, and the easier it is to become accountable to ourselves. Now, yes, it is our responsibility to become accountable, but it is not always the easiest. And so you really want to look for some support around that, because that is what will excel and speed up your results. Because as I mentioned before, sometimes you are way too close to it to be able to see what is holding you back. So again, today was all about accountability, because it is super important to have accountability when you are reinventing thyself. And we want to make sure that we are not tapping into that energy of the victim mode, of the poor me, of the wounded feminine, because that will hold us back from really tapping into the truest essence of who we are and what we are supposed to accomplish in this pivot, whether it is in our health, in our work, some kind of shift, and perhaps it's even something in our relationships, whatever it is here. It is the pivot is here. It's showing up because it is ready for you to align yourself with it, to move into it, to step into it. And when you can hit the pause button again and really give yourself some time to go through these 3 questions, you will begin to see those patterns and how they are showing up in other areas of your life and how it is holding you back from holding yourself accountable. So again, those 3 questions are: what do you value in whatever you're looking to reinvent? What am I justifying and why am I justifying it? And what benefit am I receiving from avoidance, procrastination, self-sabotage, all those lower vibrational energies that really keep us stuck? So what about some shortcuts in all this, right? Like, wouldn't it be great to embrace this newness of reinventing ourselves and yet have a shortcut to be able to do that? Well, don't forget to grab the download at www.reinventingthyself.com. Grab that download so that you can take advantage of the 3 shortcuts that I have there for you. And within that PDF, there's actually a link where you can book a 20-minute reinventing call, because what a great topic that we could chat about is this one around accountability. Because as I mentioned before, sometimes we are just way too close to the situation to really be able to take a broadened or a bird's eye view look at where we are. And so a coach, a mentor, somebody who can look at things in a different way will allow you to accelerate, to move your results faster than what you could if you were doing this on your own. So again, grab those 3 shortcuts at www.reinventingthyself.com. Now, if you're listening to this on podcast, know that there is a video version of this as well on YouTube. So check the link in the show notes. Or if you're watching this video, know that there is a podcast version as well that you can download. Check the show notes for that link as well. Everything else will be in the show notes. Definitely would love to hear how you are holding yourself accountable, what things you had to do to shift to really bring that accountability into a more solid foundational piece of your work, of your transformation, of your pivot. Don't forget to message me, because I would love to hear that and see where you are at. So as I mentioned, this is just a short episode today, but go out there today and hold yourself accountable. And don't forget to embrace the newness of reinventing thyself. Take care. Well, what are you waiting for? Whether you've pivoted and are unsure, or you're on the verge of pivoting, there is no better time than now for you to begin. Want to know why? Because if it wasn't the right time, the pivot wouldn't have shown up. And to get you started, I've got 3 shortcuts to reinventing thyself. Just head on over to www.reinventingthyself.com and you can download it there. And don't forget to message me with the shortcut that resonates with you the most. One last thing, I know you and I are not the only ones that have leaned into the pivot. Be sure to share this with others so they can be supported too. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting me and sharing this message. Until next time.